皆さんこんばんは。Learn from Artist How to Build Your Career in Design 海外デザイナーに学ぶキャリアとチャンスをつかむ方法。ゲストは引き続きプジョー、アルファロメオ、フィアット、クライスラーなどたくさんのブランドを束ねているステランティス社のチーフデザインオフィサーであるラルフ・ジルさんです。前回は葵さんの未来のカーデザインのプレゼンテーションでした。今回はラルフさんにいろいろと質問を聞いてみる Q&A セッションです。質問に対してどんな回答をしてくるのか、そして初公開となるお楽しみもありますので、ぜひ最後までご覧ください。それではどうぞ。
葵さん、何かありますか？
今回その提案させていただく上でラルフさんはどのように考えているのかなってちょっと疑問に思ったことがあって、ラルフさんは今後の自動車デザインとユーザーのライフってどのようにつながっていくのかなってそう考えられているか教えていただきたいです。
Well, one theory is that cars are actually becoming more expensive because of the technology is getting more expensive. The electric cars cost more to make than traditional cars. So one idea is that cars truly will be, not all, but some segment of the market will be shared. You know, so if you think about people sharing a car, like a hotel, like a Airbnb, you would design it differently if you knew a car's life was to be shared. So it maybe the interior would change colors depending on who wants the car. Maybe you would have materials that have multiple personalities. We can do that with lighting. Lighting is almost infinite now, the power of lighting. But you can also do it with fabric. Maybe the fabric changes colors, you know. So part of my thinking is that you kind of can, in the moment that you borrow the car, it becomes you, you know, so it reflects your personality, the settings, your favorite TV show, if it's autonomous, for example, your favorite TV show, your favorite social media is already in the car. So that's one thing we're looking at, is transferring your favorite things to whatever device you are using. So I think the cars of the future will have this ability to recognize you and adapt to you very quickly.
なんかすごく未来的で、なんか自分が想像してた以上にそのなんかシェアカーのなんか変化っていうのがその現役のデザイナーさんが考えられてることが分かってすごく勉強になりました。
Yeah, I think it's getting, I would say, more global. Like our company is selling cars all over the world, so the industry is really paying attention to the different trends more than ever. And it is possible, just like Nike and Apple, it's possible for certain brands to really be powerful all over the world. So we're spending a lot more time thinking about the markets, and the world is in many ways shrinking. It's becoming, the tastes are becoming more similar between the markets. So that's something that we're starting to realize and have to design our vehicles for that.
Right.
Yeah.
The personalization of vehicle and then have it being shared. I mean, that's like, wow.
Yeah. Get used to it. It's going to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so I actually have a question with regards to, some things that Aoi touched on. So in Japan, it's been said for a while now that the younger generations are sort of not as passionate about cars as maybe we used to be, right? Do you I don't know if I hear or see the same thing here in the US as much, but in Japan it's been pretty apparent for a while now. What do you think about that?
Well, I actually in the US it was also predicted that this would be the case. Some of it is caused by the affordability of the car. It seems unattainable. It's too expensive for the young people. So that's one of the reasons. We find that as those same kids that didn't care about cars, as they get older, they start to care again because their life changes and they need the car. So we find the passion comes, but just later. So, and if you think about it, when you and I were growing up, there weren't so many distractions. Today, there's a lot of ways for young people to entertain themselves. So the car is not so necessary. You can visit a friend virtually very quickly and communicate with your friends. When I was a young man, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license to drive to go see my friends. So today you can do that digitally. So I think until you start to maybe have a family or a job, which is in your late 20s, that's when we find that the car starts to be interesting to them.
Okay, so I think we're going to move on to Q&A, if that's okay. Yes. So one question that I have here is that, actually this one came from Aoi-chan. So Aoi is asking, so she saw your beautiful, wonderfully done program on Netflix, and you talked about how you have to think about the cars 9 years ahead. How do you get inspirations for cars that's going to be designed 9 years from now?
Ooh, wow. That's hard, to be honest. It's the most difficult part of being a designer. Luckily, it's not just me. We form teams of designers, and we try very hard to think about the future, imagine the future. And when I mean imagine, things changing, taste changing, but also we realize as designers, you can invent the future. You can kind of design what you want, and sometimes it's almost like fashion. You are making the taste, if you know what I mean. So people don't know what they like until they see it sometimes. So you don't always have to be so concerned. You could just try different ideas. So we sketch a lot. We sketch all the time. Sometimes they're very cartoony, almost like anime ideas. So we just throw a lot of ideas, and out of 1,000 ideas, maybe 10 we take forward. So it's a very tough process, but it's basically brainstorming, we call it.
So the next question that I have, and I think this one coming from a student, is that the design, I mean, of course, you went through so many mergers and everything. And so there must be a lot of differences between American design and Italian design. So if you can tell us a little bit about the differences.
Well, the difference starts with the country itself. When I travel to Italy, I used to go to Italy, I still do quite often, many times a year I go to Italy. And what I noticed right away is the size. It's very small. The roads are small, everything is tight, the country is much older, so the cars are smaller. So that's one thing. America, as you know, is much larger spaces, big highways between the towns. So I find that the cars tend to be designed for the places they are. So, and the other part about Italian design, the Italians are very passionate about art, but they're also a country that wants to excite the rest of the world. They're very proud of their culture, so they export the most outrageous things they can think of. So the Italian cars tend to be very stylish because they want to be famous for being stylish, if you know what I mean. It's not about just function. The German cars tend to be serious and performing, and the French cars tend to be very almost like art, very let's say exciting to look at, not necessarily no function necessarily, just really shocking design. But I would say the Americans, all of those places are probably the most conservative because it's a big country. It's a huge market. many tastes, so we have to sometimes be a little more conservative so the car is more broadly accepted.
I see. Yeah, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Being conservative. And one question came up, which is, what do you think about Japanese cars?
I love Japanese cars. I've always been a fan of Japanese cars. My favorite is the Skyline. I love the Skyline, the new one, and also mostly the older ones. The original Toyota Supra, it's fun. I love the Miata. It's one of my favorites. The 300Zs, just amazing. I think Japanese cars are fun. I even like some of the cars we cannot get here. There's some really cool small micro cars that are not available in the US, which I think are so cool.
Okay. What are your goals for your career? What are your goals for your career? I mean, those are big questions.
That's a big question. My goal.
I know.
Well, my goal is to keep being successful for the company, not for me. I feel I already achieved the goal of being head of design. I've been head of design since 2008. So I'm very happy with that. I have no problems. So now my goal is to help the next generation of designers. Also to help young people get into design. I think it's a field where I'm concerned that we're not getting as many young people as we should to be interested in design. And also the next generation of leaders. So the day I decide to retire, there's a very strong leadership after me. So part of my job now is coaching. I spend a lot of time coaching and helping. I also am sitting on the board of my old university. I'm on the council board. So I give guidance to help the next generation.
What do you see are the areas where they really need to sort of, learn or try? And are there anything that you recommend, like?
Yeah, I think I wish students could travel. Now, hopefully with the pandemic is over, maybe students need to travel and see the world. I really think it's important to visit other cultures because there's always something exciting. I went to Japan 2 years ago with my family. We spent 10 days. We visited Tokyo, Hiroshima, Kyoto. I mean, we just went everywhere. 2 days in every city. We were very tired. But it was exciting to see the different culture, the way the cars are used. I love some of the way we modify cars in the US is big engines. Over there was graphics, really exciting graphics on the cars. Saw a lot of cool young people with very exciting lights and graphics. So it was really interesting to see what excites the young people. So you can only do that sometimes by visiting the places. So I think seeing the world as much as possible helps a lot.
Wow, 2 years ago. You went there at the right time, like 2019.
Right before everything happened.
Oh my goodness.
A little over 2 years,
That's
yeah.
great.
So.
That's great. Okay, so another question. Is there any city that you would love to drive? And what kind of car would you like to drive in?
Wow, any city I would love to drive. Well, Italy, I already love it because I've been to Italy. I love driving in northern Italy. It's amazing, near the Swiss Alps. just some of the best roads in the world. Spain is also very, 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 very nice roads in Spain. I don't know. That's a good question. I think not Hawaii. Very short roads in Hawaii. I rented a car in Hawaii. It was the most boring drive because I kept going to the same place all day.
Yeah.
No, but actually, Italy I think is my favorite.
Yeah, I saw that clip on the show. Oh, it just looks so amazing and beautiful.
Yeah, it was breathtaking. So highly recommended if anyone wants to make a vacation there.
Yeah. The best advice you got in terms of your career? Wow,
the best advice. The first advice that really hit me, like a piece of advice that was very young, only a few years in my job at Chrysler. Someone told me to not say I so much. I remember presenting my work and I would describe it as my work. I would repeat the word myself all the time. And my manager said, you should talk about the team more. And from that day onwards, I've always considered the team more important than myself. So that was a big lesson to realize that it takes a family to make a great product. Great teamwork is so important. So I really have lived by that ever since. To create teams, create almost like a sports team. That's how I see my studio. So we're gonna challenge the other team from the other companies. So that's one advice. The second advice was to share what you know, was to mentor. So as I got older, I have many young designers, some even outside the company, that I spend time with to explain what I learned so that they don't have to make the same mistakes.
I see. Yes, and I know that you actually, in many places, you talk about your team quite a bit, how this was, a team effort, and so I think that is wonderful.
Thank you. It's very important to me.
Yeah. So, since you started working, what are some of the encounters that you've had that left you with big impressions or?
Well, some of them were not necessarily related to design. Many of you may know the Fast Furious movies, Fast and Furious. So years ago, I was working with Dodge, and I got to go on the set, the filming set in Puerto Rico, where they were filming the scene on the bridge, a famous scene on the bridge in Fast 5. And I was sitting on the bridge watching them practice the stunt with Vin Diesel and Paul Walker, rest his peace. So it was fascinating to think that how is it that I'm a car designer, yet I'm on a movie set with a bunch of actors. So it was very interesting to see how the automobile is part of popular culture. It really is a big part of our lives. And when I was there with the movie people, it made me realize how amazing that is, because they chose our cars because it matched the character of the hero, Vin Diesel. So that was cool.
Oh, wow. Wow, that is great. Yeah. So this is the last question. And I kind of want to ask you, so is this your home? Like what is the background?
It's my garage.
Your garage. Perfect.
It's my, hold on a second. I don't know if this is going to work. We'll see.
Okay, we'll try.
During the pandemic, I converted my garage into an office. So I have some cars over there. And I have a little designer village. So I have a little living room with a Formula One wheel. And one of my favorite things to do, I love to race, but I have, you see simulators. Can you see that?
Yes.
It's a driving simulator. So yeah, this is like my fun place. But I also work here sometimes. So.
Wow, so it's like a garage, but loft. Upstairs is your lounge and the office and the simulator.
Exactly.
And then downstairs is all the cars. Can we take a look at the cars that you have?
Sure. So well, they're not all here. It's kind of messy now, but I have older cars and newer cars.
Yes.
Hold on, I have to use my computer in a way I've never used it before. But this is when my wife is mad at me, I hide in this place. I have a little French car, a little Peugeot. And I have, this car is actually made in Japan. So this is my, it's a Fiat 124, which is based on the Miata platform. So this is a little sports car we make with Mazda. I don't know if you can see it. It's a really fun car. It's a little a 4-cylinder turbo. And then my favorite car, which I worked on with my team, is the Viper. This is the Dodge Viper. That's the Dodge Challenger Demon. And I told you I love Italian cars. And this car came from Japan. I bought it from Japan. It's actually an Italian car, but it's called the Lancia Delta Integrale. And it was very, very popular in Japan for some reason. They love it. So this car is from Japan. I can prove it to you. You can see the, I don't know if you can see it, but the markings on the windshield are from the Japanese office of, and then this is my Alfa Romeos, my old Alfas that I built myself. I restored them, and they're super fun to drive. So I'm in the middle of building a race car right now as a hobby. So this is another race car up here that I'm working on.
Wow, building a race car as a hobby. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it has, believe it or not, it has a Honda S2000 engine in a Alfa Romeo. So don't ask me why, but the Japanese make the best engines. So, so that's my little cave here. I never show anybody this stuff. This is.
Oh, thank you.
So, that's good.
Oh my goodness. Wow, this is amazing. I think that people in Japan are going nuts. And this will live forever on YouTube.
Very good.
Thank you. Well, Ralph, thank you so much again for your time. It was wonderful to have you on the program. I think a lot of people really, appreciated your stories. And and one last question is that this program was really, of course, you were introduced to us by your good friend, Jay Schuster from Pixar. Yeah. So I don't know if you have anyone that you can introduce us to.
I will think about it. There's many friends I have in the industry that I think you would love to talk to. So I'll give you an answer very soon.
Okay.
But one thing I would like to tell all the people listening and the designers is one of my best pieces of advice I could give you is to, and it works if you're a kid, it works if you're a professional, is to dream big. Always dream, have big dreams, and the bigger you dream, the more chance you have to achieve.
Yep, totally agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Ralph. Have a great evening. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
はい、ということで、最後すごかったですね。ガレージ。あれ、最初ガレージだと思わなくて、なんかすごい背景かっこいい、バーチャル背景なのかなと思ってたんですけども、すごい近未来的なガレージでしたね。
すごいですね。やっぱりデザイナーになると、あんなガレージ持てるんだっていう夢になりますよね。
すごい夢でしたよね。いや、なんかラルフさんも途中、最後の方も言ってましたけど、ドリームビッグっていうので、目標を大きく持ってほしいっていうところ、いや、あんな大きいガレージ持ちたいっていう夢持てばいいんですね、多分きっと。
そうですね。
すごいなんか映画みたいでしたよね。
そうです。
あんなに車持ってるんだと思って、やっぱカーデザイナーだから車いっぱい持ってるんだろうなと思ったんですけど、本当にあんなに車がいっぱいあるんだな。
あんなに持ってる人いるんだって思いましたね。
ねえ。相当ガレージも大きくて、いやなんか整備とかもしてたし、レーシングカーもね、やっぱ日本のエンジンとかも積むっていう話とかがあって、日本のやっぱ技術すごいんだなっていうところもちょっと感じましたね。
そうですね、嬉しかったですね。
うん、嬉しいですよね。あと、ラルフさんが言ってた、Don't be shy っていうところで、恥ずかしがらないで、今回、葵さんもプレゼンテーション、 やっていただいたりとか、こういうプレゼンテーションの機会をいっぱい持つっていうことが、やっぱりそのキャリアのステップを積んでいく上でも重要なチャレンジをするっていうことが必要なんだなっていうことを感じましたね。いやなんか本当最後のガレージのところでテンション上がってしまって、もう終わりでいいんじゃないかなと思うんですけれども、ですね、今回の、この次回のですね、そのゲストっていうのも、ラルフさんにまた、どなたがいいかというところは、後日連絡をいただきますので、また詳細が分かりましたら、Adobe ブログや SNS でも、告知したいと思いますので、そちらをチェックしていただければと思います。それでは最後までご視聴ありがとうございました。ではまたお会いしましょう。さよなら。